much, Rachel, and welcome everybody to this webinar. Thanks very much for your time for joining us tonight. This work has been part of our overall strategic plan for the college, which was in response to feedback from our members and stakeholders. And it's really important for all organisations to look at their governance. And certainly this has been a journey that we've been on for some time already. And I hope that you have been receiving regular communications through a range of our different avenues, through the college news, through our e-blasts and the consultations that Rachel has mentioned. We also have a number of opportunities with our councillors and with our president. At the moment, we have planned out a range of opportunities for speaking at regional committees and at annual scientific days and meetings. So there's continuing opportunities for discussion, and as Rachel said, very soon a broader consultation with all of our membership on the draft constitution. So I want to hand over now to Dr. Patrick Russo, who is the chair of the Constitution Change Committee and immediate past president of the college. Thanks very much, Patrick.
Thanks, Karen, and hello everyone, and thank you for joining the conversation tonight. Before we start, I just want to acknowledge Rachel and Karen and the team in at the office who have done a tremendous amount of work putting a lot of this together and liaising with outside groups to arrive at the point we are tonight. I also want to acknowledge the committee. Peter Gregory's here, I see. Peter Gregory, Paul Sambrook, Chris Callahan, and of course the college team have done a huge amount of work, and I'd like to acknowledge their efforts. The conversation tonight is important. Any change to your constitution as a member-based organisation is important. A constitutional change that involves governance is especially important. And that's why we've given ourselves such a long lead time on this, and why we've been involved with quite a bit of consultation with groups, regional committee meetings, regional meetings. If you're at convocation, you would have been involved in forum, lots of communications through the college news, and lots of communication with e-blasts. So I'm hopeful. Well, I think the fact that you're here means that you're engaged with the process. They're probably the best place to start tonight, and I want to make this a conversation because that's why you're here. You want to hear some information and you want to ask the question. So I want to make this a conversation, but before we get there, can I just take you through how we arrived at this point? David Sykes is online, and it was during David's term as president, his council had a look at changing the structure of the college, the way the college was incorporated. We were an association incorporated in Canberra in the ACT, and we moved from that to a company limited by guarantee. There were good reasons around that. I won't go into that now. I'm happy to address that if you'd like later on. There were reasons why we did that. We are now a company limited by guarantee, which means we report to ASIC, and as a not-for-profit, we report to the ACNC as well. That's the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission. Increasingly, we're reporting to ACNC. For example, if there's a director change, we report that to ACNC, not to ASIC. The review, the process of changing from an association to a company had implication for the council. It meant that the councillors all became directors of a company, and that what we were calling the college council is actually a board. So we started to change the terminology. What the Constitution Change Committee, what my group have been doing, is looking at college governance and looking at how we are structured and looking at best practice. So what we did initially is we went and had a look at similar not-for-profits. We had a look at medical colleges. So we spoke with the College of Physicians, College of Surgeons, ophthalmologists, pathologists, and a lot of other member-based organisations, and we utilise the services of the association's forum. This is a group who exists to assist groups like ours. And Kathy Newen, who's a lawyer from that association forum, has been tremendous in her advice and help, and in rewriting the draft constitution that will go to members later on. So the committee had a look at all of that and came back to council with some recommendations. The recommendations were that as a not-for-profit of our member base size, that we should perhaps have a smaller council or board, that the emphasis should be on a skill-based council or board. So moving away from regional representation to skill-based boards. Now, if you took note at the last election, you would have seen that there were changes to the voting papers and to what we were asking both people who were nominating and those who were voting what to consider. So those nominating, we asked them to elaborate on the sort of skills that they might bring to a board. We're looking for skills that are diverse, skills other than being good at whatever your dental specialty or dental area might be. We asked the people voting to consider the diversity. So when they were voting for people, try to bring together a board that was quite diverse, because that was another thing that came home to us, that a modern board should have a diversity of skills. The other thing that became apparent was that our current structure didn't allow for external appointees. So the proposal that will come to you, to the membership for voting, will be allowing for 2 directors to be appointed by the elected members. Now, the thinking behind that is that when the membership vote and they bring together a board, we've got a skill-based board, we might find that there are gaps in the skills that we require. So we might, for example, think that, or the board might think, yes, we've got a good group, but we need someone with IT expertise, or perhaps our projects on the go at the moment might require some legal expertise. So it gives the board, the elected board, the ability to bring in some talent or skills that are deficient on that elected board. So that's one of the recommendations we made to council. The other recommendations included meeting more frequently. Now, currently, council meets 3 times a year. They're long meetings. There's a lot of material to get through, and modern boards meet more frequently with shorter meetings. And currently, we don't utilise technology like we're using tonight, is not used by council at all. So there's good opportunity for the council to meet more frequently, shorter meetings, get more work done. The other recommendation we made, and this is a significant change, is that the board or council would be supported by an advisory council. And we'll go through that later on. But the way I want you to think about that is that the board does the strategic thinking, if you like, puts the plans together, and it's the advisory council. And the advisory council should be a mirror of the membership. So it should reflect who is the college. That advisory council then should bring together the ideas and the projects and the things that are of concern to them, bring them to the board for implementation or fitting into the strategic plan. So that's the difference. So that little chart in front of you shows where we are at the moment. We've got 12 councillors and they're all elected by the membership. The proposal is that we reduce that to 8 directors, 8 councillors who will be elected by the membership, and then that group of 8 have the ability to appoint up to 2 other members, as I mentioned before, to improve their skill capabilities. That board of theoretically 10 people will be supported by an advisory council, and we'll go through the advisory council in a minute because that's a significant change to what we currently have. Could have up to 21 members, and as I was saying before, it should be a mirror to our organisation. It should reflect the diverse groups within our college, all of whom should have a voice. The other change is that council executive will disappear. The advice we have, and looking at modern boards, you don't have a board within a board, and that's effectively what council executive was. So we will do away with those executive positions. There will be a president and a president-elect, or a vice president, I think we're calling it. We would increase the number of meetings. So currently we have 3 face-to-face meetings, or there have been to date 3 face-to-face meetings of all of council. We'd increase that up to 7, and using some technology. The elected term of the board would stay the same. It's still 2 years. This is a significant change. We will no longer hold, or the proposal is there would no longer be quarantine positions for a representative from Asia or New Zealand. Now, what's happened to date is that those two positions on council would be filled by the members of New Zealand, putting someone forward for that role. So they don't go into a ballot, they are put forward by their regional members. So we're doing away with that, or the proposal is to do away with that. The concept of directors having a fee, president taking a fee, remains the same. There is no remuneration. Now, so that's the makeup of the advisory council. This group will have each of the regional chairs there. It will have chairs from each of the boards of studies. It'll have all of the registrars. It'll have a trainee from OMS, from the OMS board. There's already a trainee that sits on the OMS board. They will become part of the advisory council. We will have, the proposal is to have up to 3 fellows or members who are newish to the membership. So within the last 3 years, someone who's been around a while, so a life member of the college, and an Indigenous representation as well. Now, obviously, regional chairs, chairs of boards of studies, registrars are already in place. The other positions, there will be a call for expression of interest. It's the board that appoints the chair of the advisory council, and there will be a deputy chair as well. The last point is just about leaving the advisory council to join the board. Okay, so that's where we are. That's the proposal. I'm happy to take questions now, or clarify any of those points. The thinking, just before we do take questions, the thinking here is that why we're doing this? Well, first of all, on the back of the change from association to company limited by guarantee, but also council, when they voted on this, believed that this will be a more efficient way to run the organisation. It will give members better representation through the advisory council. It will make the board more responsive. One of the things I found as president is that things happen slowly. I think this structure will make everything a bit more agile, a bit faster. Just the fact that there'll be more meetings, smaller group, not going to executive, then back to council. It just makes the whole thing a lot more efficient. Now, I'm sure there are people that will disagree with me, and I'm happy to take questions or points on clarification.